Welcome back to another episode, a special episode here of the Challenge Insiders on Reality Pop. Happy New Year's to everyone. Chantel has got the New Year's spirit 2022 almost in the house over there in North America. I am coming to you guys from the future here in 2022, and I can tell you what, it's bright, nice and sunny outside. 2022 hopefully is going to be a great year. Chantel, welcome to the show. How are you doing, and how are you planning on spending this New Year's Eve?
This is it, guys. This is my New Year's Eve. I was hesitant, being like, oh, maybe I'm gonna have plans, but actually, all of Toronto is pretty much shut down. All restaurant bars it's closed by 11 p.m. So it's like there's no point. Everybody I know either has COVID or they're staying home. So this is it, guys. Yeah. You are the beginning of my 2022, so it'll be nice to have. Maybe we'll do some projections on what we want to do for our future together in our reality TV world. So happy to be spending it with you guys. I also have the two cats that I am, cat sitting, that I'm going to maybe give them a little extra treat, even though I'm not allowed to. And I'm going to order pizza and maybe some Prosecco.
Nice. Well, we're happy to have you here for this New Year's Eve with us to talk about a show that we all love, the Challenge All Stars. And before we go into what is sort of in store for us as a group and what we're going to be doing in the future with some of these recaps and things like that, I want to introduce the other part of the Three Musketeers, Drew. Drew, how are you doing? And what's your plans for the evening as well?
I'll be honest, I was not feeling myself this past week. After we talked on Monday, I felt just sluggish. I felt really tired. And for some reason, I just didn't want to do anything the last few days. So I've just felt like, well, I did do something. I put up all these lights. I put up a new a bookcase. I got everything. I think maybe that took a lot of energy out of me. So this morning I woke up, I felt better. And so I just did a whole bunch of work from like 9 a.m. to now. So I've just been working since this morning on New Year's Eve, and I don't plan on doing anything but that until the new year. So let's just do that. Let's just work, grind it out.
Maybe it's the monster, talking about season 41 can do that to you. It can, take the wind out of anyone's sails. And we thank you for jumping on that podcast with us to talk about a season that was difficult to talk about at times. But guys, everybody here in the live stream, Happy New Year's. I see a few people have come in and said Happy New Year's as well. Sudani Speaks, welcome to the stream. Dabu, welcome to the stream. And then Sam, welcome to the stream. He says January is his birthday month, so happy birthday month to you, Sam. And
Sam,
you share something with Chantel.
When's your birthday, Sam?
Yeah, let us know when.
I'm January 25th.
Yeah, there we go. Sam also asked, before we get into here, who's your favorite challenger of the year? And we all know that it has to be Yui from The Challenge, who's everybody's favorite challenger. But yeah, just having a little bit of fun here in the beginning. I would like to know, actually, before we get into it, who is your favorite challenger of this year? Chantel, if you had to pick one challenger that really stood out for you, and why is it not Yui?
I have to say, my fellow January Aquarius birthday guy, it's Tech. He has that whole safety palace. Like, whatever happened, he had the vision to get them to produce this song that they made. And then they even played it on the end of last week's episode. So, like, he just has vision. I want to hear what he has to say. His confessionals are always on point. Like, I think he's the man right now. I love Tech.
Yeah, Tech is a lot of fun. Drew, what do you think of Tech with his new hit song? And why is Tech your favorite or not your favorite challenger of the year? I know it's hard to decide because there's so many challengers that do go out there and play the show.
Yeah, I mean, I love Save the Palace. I've have it on my Spotify already, liked playlist. I've already played it on loop for a whole bunch of times when I first saw it on Spotify. Tech is good. I want to go with somebody different, and I totally forgot about All Stars when picking the favorites of this year. If I want to say favorite of the year, I'll go with Leroy. Going to the earlier part of this year, since Double Agent seems like a lifetime ago, because this Challenge 37 seems like a lifetime ago. Yeah, that was this year. So I'm going to say Leroy because he retired. He went out in a blaze of glory, getting third overall behind Amber and CT in his final, but he ended up third place with Nani because she couldn't put it into a different gear. But I'll give a shout out to Leroy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, for me, I think I have to go for, definitely a new school player because I'm a bit of a new school fan. Not that I'm saying that the new school seasons are better. To be honest, I watched the Challenge 37. I wouldn't say it.
Like, I will
No, they weren't even on the show.
Yeah, right now, and like I'm just so sick of their TikToks and their reels and their comments, and they're saying they don't care about the challenge, but they're only talking about the challenge. Sorry. It's not that.
I can't believe you think that lowly of me, Chantel, that I would say Kara and Paulie as the favorite challengers for 2021. They didn't even play in any of these shows this year, but my favorite is a bit of a shit stirrer. I like the shit stirrers. Kyle is my favorite challenger of this year. And I feel like Kyle is just one of those people who gets the fans. He gives us what we want in the new school season. And may there be many more seasons with him on it. Obviously a new dad this year as well. We've seen a lot of growth in Kyle over the years. And, I like Kyle because Paulie and Kara is not on the show at the moment. That might change in the future if they do come back and Kyle is back on the season, because hopefully they don't revisit that very old storyline that is now played out, hopefully by now. But
unless they're doing X's.
Unless they're doing X's, could be interesting. Could be an interesting mix. Guys, before we get into it here, I do have an announcement to make. I did not eat you guys' Greek salad. I promise that. But this will be probably our third last podcast, or my third last podcast on Reality Pop. I will continue to be with Reality Pop as a guest sometimes in the future, but I have made the decision after talking to a few of you guys to actually go my own direction and start my own channel as well, which I'm really excited about. So scary times, obviously taking that leap. Thank you very much to do that. And I'm very excited to let everybody know that Drew and Chantel will continue to be a part of this trio when we talk about the challenge in the future. We will be doing things on my channel. There might be a little bit of a collaboration on their channels as well. Very, very much a 1/3 partnership on how we'll be doing the challenge content and the podcast recaps in the future. But if you are in the live here and if you're still with us, please go and check out the new channel. I'll put it into the comments here as well. Give us a subscription on there as well, if you don't mind. It will help, obviously. Check it out. It's called The Nullified Take, because we know that I've got the TNT takes, the explosive ones on every single one of these recaps. It doesn't always mean a lot. That's why it's nullified. So I thought, you know what? Let's put it out there, a little bit of tongue-in-cheek for Survivor fans as well. But on this channel, we will be talking about all reality TV shows that I really like talking about, like The Challenge, Survivor. I've also got the first show coming up, The Amazing Race, which I'll be recapping. I know that both you guys will be doing some Amazing Race content as well, so maybe at some point we'll do a collaboration there. But I'm very excited that I've got a special co-host that will be a part of that show as well, the recap show. So that will be revealed in the next week. I'm very happy to have been able to get this person to do the recaps with me this season as well. So very excited about that, guys. Check it out. There's many things to come on that channel in the future. But I do want to go into what we're all here to talk about, and it is the Challenge All-Stars Episode 8. We're getting down to the pointy end here. And Drew, what was your overall feeling of this episode coming into Episode 8? You see the King's Palace. They escape, a very, very narrow escape. They're all still together. They're back in the room celebrating. There's no secrets about the fact that these guys are together, and it is a house very divided.
Yeah, I mean, coming into this episode, I was counting my lucky blessings because there was some question marks on what happened last episode, where it's like, why was Kahutta leaving when Casey had to go, but we didn't see that with Latyrian and when Kendall had to go. So to me, knowing that two players, I mean, I should have lost two people last episode on my fantasy team. So when seeing that both teams were fine, and then coming into this episode, I was wiping the sweat off my brow. I was like, yes, now they can win, save the palace for themselves, not be like bailed out of the palace, and then put up some heavy hitters on the other side. But it got me sweating a little bit more this episode. I'm not gonna lie. I need Save the Palace to win something at some point. Well, they did win something, which really helped me out. But oh my gosh,
I'm
Chantal,
not
you
sure
still
if
there?
I'm in sync yet or not, but I was frozen for a while, so I don't know what I was being shown on your end, or if you could even hear me right now.
We can hear
We can
you.
hear you.
Your camera's paused at the moment, but we can hear you at
Okay,
least.
I hope it wasn't the last image of me before. I looked terrible. I think I might be back. I might be back.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're back.
What were you saying again? Because I was just kind of sidetracked by the fact that I was frozen. I was like, am I going to have to restart my computer? What's happening? What's going on?
It's the wasn't there like the Y2K bug back in the day when we hit into the millennials and all the computers were gonna like end? Maybe you're getting the delayed 21-year delayed
Years?
Y2K bug on your computer, and it's just like coming in there giving you issues when we want to talk about the challenge. Anyways, I digress. We spoke about the fact that the King's Palace came back to the house very divided. Everybody knows they're divided. Janae trying to get up in the room, wanting to have a chat with them, but Nehemiah saying, hey, listen, I know you're against me. Get out of the room, and it was kind of awkward to see because Jasmine was up there, so she probably just wanted to hang out with her bestie, but she didn't get that opportunity. What was your feelings about this episode and the house being so divided?
I mean, this is what we want, right? Like, I want to see a house divided because I don't like seeing one big alliance just completely be able to take over everybody on the other side. And so I like the fact that there is a complete divide right now that's 6 versus 6. Obviously, it's like a little bit of hurt feelings, with Janae going into the room and Nehemiah saying, like, you voted for me to go in. So that means that you don't want to be celebrating here with us. So I understood where he was coming from. And he did a lot of posts on social media, both him and Janae, saying like how they're such good friends. They were just on different sides this game and that he loves her and stuff like that. So I think it was all for the camera, for the game of it all. I don't think that she was that offended by it. But Janelle, who somebody, when I was watching, I streamed this episode on Twitch, and somebody in the chat was saying that Janelle is like the Karen of the challenge. And I'm like, yep, yeah, she is. I never thought of her as annoying, but she's really annoyed me a lot this season so far. Just the fact that she's like doesn't understand why Melinda would be celebrating with these people and like making it so obvious. I'm like, I just don't like the way that she's kind of how she feels about the game, and even in the deliberation when she's talking about, I've aligned myself with people and this is what I have to do. I was kind of like, I don't know if I care about your opinion, Janelle. I'm sorry. So that's kind of how I felt about that situation. Like, she ran with it, even though Janae was didn't care that much, it seemed.
Drew, is she pound for pound the most annoying person at the moment when it comes to confessionals? Because how many confessionals has she actually had this season? I feel like it's not that many, but if she's getting that strong of a reaction from Chantal and other people here as well in the live stream, like Christina, she must be pound for pound one of the most annoying people on those confessionals at the moment.
I mean, she's doing some efficient annoyance because she's only had 11 confessionals. She gets bare minimum confessionals. I mean, in the first half of this season, she only had 3, and that was in the first episode. She didn't get any in episode 2, 3, 4, or 5. And she's coming on strong. She only had 1 in episode 8. So that annoyance is coming in as the most
Maybe
efficient
that's why they're
annoyance
not
you can
putting
get.
her in, because they're like, oh, she's pretty annoying. Let's not make them really annoyed with her. So let's keep it at a bare minimum just so that people can tolerate her.
Yeah. And I think people are going to get even more annoyed with her if what we think is going to happen next episode actually ends up happening, which it looks like she's going to pull out and Darrell is going to get screwed in the process. And if that happens, I would have officially had my worst run in any of these draft picks because I lost Jasmine this round and I would then lose Darrell before final. I am in very big danger going into the finale episode, and I might not even have a horse in the race coming into the finale, which is unheard of for me to do this badly. Like, I know I do bad, but that is super bad, right?
That is really bad. But what I'm really frustrated with is the preview, because I was like, is there any other shots you could show? Because I feel like they gave away everything in that preview, because they're talking about Brad ripping open the boxes, which is wrong. And I'm like, okay, he's obviously going to DQ and possibly be sent directly into the elimination. And then Janelle's talking about a back issue and not trying to like hurt herself more going onto the game, and Darrell is in like frustration mode. I'm like, okay, so do we have everything? Like, do I know exactly what's going to happen in the next episode? I feel like I do. Why would you do this? It's the final episode right before the final or whatever. It's like, leave some mystery, man. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, for what I think is going to happen is that Janelle and Darrell are going to go into the elimination, whatever. And I don't think she's going to be putting her whole back into it. I think that Darrell will be working really hard to try to save them. But like, I think that they're going to lose to the DQ team, which will be Brad and Jody, and they're going to stay. And Janelle and Darrell are going to go home. That's kind of what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, and I mean, it's crazy that we nearly have enough information to do a recap on episode 8 and 9 all at the same time. I mean, these producers need to figure it out because, you know, when you want to get people to tune in for the next episode, don't give them everything because it makes you less wanting to go into this episode and go and enjoy it. Everything in the middle starts feeling like filler on the episode when you already know what the main plot lines are going to be and who's going to potentially be in danger and who's going to go home. Very worried about it. And I think that they also did a bit of foreshadowing to this episode when they were doing the daily challenge where Janelle was saying that she was in a lot of pain running back and forth. She tried to just not think about it and focus on the task at hand, but definitely some foreshadowing that we might see some trouble here moving forward. And Darrell and Janelle also really struggling to work together well as a team on the puzzles as well. Not that cohesive, but let's talk about a team that early in this episode, we got a little bit of screen time from, I know, Drew, one of your favorites, Janae and MJ. They were talking early on about their connection on the challenge, how they work together. She said this is the first time she's played a challenge season where she's actually playing with someone that supports her, understands her, and she just wants to do well with this partnership. And we know that she's had some pretty toxic partners in the past. I mean, you know, Zach coming up there, I remember that season very well and being super annoyed at how much of a D-bag he was to her that season. And, you know, this could be a very good season for Janae. I was worried for her in the beginning of this episode because I thought if we're seeing her this early on, maybe she's going to become someone that's going to be in trouble when we get to the vote if they don't win. But overall, this seems to be like a partnership that's working really well. And they obviously take the daily here in this episode as well.
Yeah, they're very strong. And I think that I think they wanted to win or have their side win, but they didn't want to be the ones to win. Because I think with Janae getting third place last season, she wanted to work the social game and test the boundaries of her alliance more so than try to win too much at the beginning, putting a bigger target on their back. MJ's coming in, not really having a strong standing with a lot of the players. I think the best thing for his game was coming in very physically strong. So when he got in with Janae, with their room, it was a blessing for him. So I think it was a good strategy to kind of like pull this win out this late in the game and hopefully try to like take that momentum into the finals.
And I love that they just don't really argue about things. Like she gives her perspective on how she thinks that would be best to do. Like the daily was quite challenging. They had to jump off the cliff into the cenote, which I think is TJ's favorite word because he used cenote in another. Was it the last All Stars or was it in 37? Like I don't know. I'm just like I've never heard of cenote. And then I was watching Portia's Family Values, and they're talking about going to the cenote in Mexico. I was like, what's with the cenote? I've never been to. Maybe I have. I just never know what it was called. But anyway, so they had to jump in the water, and then treading water, they had to memorize like a code, and it actually was quite difficult. But I think that Janae had the best strategy by finding all the same ones, like so if there's any multiples, and seeing where they were on each row, and so then you maybe only had to do 6 trips, so it would be like a 6-mile run, which isn't that bad, maybe 8 if they mess up, but. Yeah, I think that they have the best strategy. I think that they work well together. He's willing to listen to what she has to say. He doesn't necessarily push his own agendas. I think they have a really good team synergy. The way that they work together is really awesome. So they are looking great going into the final together. Because Brad and Jody didn't look great going into the final together because we can see the wheels are falling off the bus. Like, how the heck is Jody not realizing that you'd have to memorize different colors on the the horns. I was like, what? Like,
Yeah. But I mean, I also think that it's a little bit of them trying to direct us away from these two still being the ultimate threat in a finale. I still think they will win it. I'm not, my focus is not moving away from them. I do think that MJ and Janae potentially could have a chance. I do think that Nehemiah and Melinda, who we'll talk about, who's going to go straight to the finale, potentially could have a chance in a finale. But I think where the real big difference is going to come into the finale is the distance that they're going to have to run. The amount of things that they're going to have to do is going to be something that's going to play into the favor of Brad and Jody being probably the two fittest people out there, especially if Darrell is out as well. And, we see that his partner isn't doing too well at this stage. They might not do so well in any case, even if they did get to a finale, because he will only be as fast as the slowest person in his partnership. And it did remind me of some of those seasons where CT had partners that just completely were anchors to him in the early seasons that I started watching the show from Final Reckoning onwards, where he really struggled to do well in some of those seasons as well, because that Darrell is capable, that he can get to a final and do extremely well and win it, but will he get the opportunity? Talking about the daily challenge here, though, it was interesting to see the amount of teams that were really struggling with this, struggling with the distance they had to run, struggling with jumping in the water, getting the pieces, and then coming back. And another person that really was out of her depth for most of the season, especially as there's more and more athleticism required as we get to the end of the season, is Jasmine. And you do have to feel, Drew, for Laterian, because Laterian is someone that I think, for me, has become a bit of a favorite. I really enjoy seeing him play the game. He's very stoic. I didn't understand him that well in the first season when he threw himself in there, but I really felt for him. He had a bad hand. I mean, if he stayed with Kendall this season, he probably would have been in a final, to be honest. And getting stuck with Jasmine, he was staying calm throughout all of it, but I bet you inside he was absolutely losing his mind, having to drag Jasmine across this course and try and stay in the game at the same time as well.
Yeah, it was a tough ride for Laterian and Jasmine. I mean, they're a team and they work as a team, and their working as a team wasn't good. Their team dynamic wasn't good. It just was talk about the wheels falling off. I mean, it was just complete collapse here. They needed the life shield for a second round for this one to have a shot of getting out. Real quick, talking about Jody and Brad, they were like one of my favorite couples to watch, because they were just like, Brad was just like, you handle your stuff. Because at one point, I just loved when Jody was like, the horns are different colors, Brad. And he's like, yeah, we'll deal with it when we get there. And then when she's like trying to tell him what she needs to look for, and he's just holding up the canopy, he's like, you're confusing the crap out of me. Like, you just do you. And it was like, Brad already has enough on his mind. Just like, you do you, Jody. Just leave me out of it.
I'm a man. I don't multitask. What do you not understand?
Oh, I'm just like, I get that Jasmine, she's kind of coined as the queen of hearts. She puts a lot of heart. You want to see her do well, but she just never ever really does well. And so it's kind of hard to still be rooting for her at this point. Like, I like Jasmine. I think that she is an interesting addition. I enjoy seeing her this season, but I think for me, her storyline might have run dry. Unless she completely changes her whole physicality and comes back and it's like, it becomes a comp beast. That's the only way I really care to see Jasmine on another season. It's kind of like the Anissa effect. Like, Anissa, every season, like, I just want to get to a final. I'm like, that storyline is kind of tired, played out. I don't want to see that story anymore. And so it's kind of like that for me with Jasmine, when she just was so scared to jump, and how patient Laterian was. I was like, I probably would have pushed her. Like, I'd just be like, whoops, sorry. Like, going off. I mean, no, I wouldn't. But like, the fact that he just wanted to like nudge her off, I think is hilarious. And yeah. I probably would have wanted to do the same thing. So it's like, Jasmine, you know what show you're signing up for. You're going to have to do all these things all the time. It's no surprise it's a jump into water. It's no surprise you're going to be doing heights into water. Like, it's just no surprise. So either get better at it or don't come back. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. You're taking up a spot that we could have someone else on the show that could potentially come in, be more entertaining, and also physically at least keep up with others. Because we don't want to see someone that is a favorite of ours or someone that we like a lot to be paired with someone that is an anchor to them on the show, and then they get eliminated because of it. I mean, Darrell could be one of those people. I know we're going back to him over and over, and obviously having only Darrell left on my team, I'm really annoyed by this fact that he might be taken out in this way before the finale next episode. But looking at the season, the biggest bit of entertainment from Jasmine this whole season came from someone else that created drama, and that person is Ayanna, the gift that keeps on giving this season.
Wow.
We find out a bit about Ayanna this episode, and specifically the relationship that she has with Tech, and Tech really struggling to keep her in control to the point where he tells her, "You don't say anything at the vote, keep it quiet." And the bombshell of all bombshells drop after the nominations took place. And for that comment alone, for this piece alone, it might be more legendary and epic than the "I slept in my costume" line that she had before, because she said to Jody, "I ate your Greek salad," and the look on Janae's face, and everybody there was priceless. I don't know about you guys, I absolutely lost my shit when I was watching it, and I had to rewind and watch that scene again because it was so fun. And Ayanna, hats off to you. You can come back as many times as you want, because if you're going to continue to deliver these kinds of scenes, this is what I want to see more of.
It's so nuts. It's so nuts and like so delicious. Not as delicious as that Greek salad apparently was. Like we're talking about, I didn't even use a fork. I used my fingers, and it felt like a man lying next to me. Like I was like, take it too far. It's so weird. And Jody's just like, can you just tell me next time that you took my Greek salad? I don't need this weird, like, I don't know what it was, but like the music that they put behind it and like how she was doing it was so bizarre, but I very much enjoyed it. I just watched it again right now and I was like, gold star, Ayanna, gold star.
Yeah, I think that's the moment of the season at this point. I mean, when anybody goes back to watch the season, it's going to be the Greek salad line. That's going to be in everybody's mind.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, like, listen, I understand. Christina says in the chat here, Ayanna definitely good TV, but she rubbed me the wrong way with this whole Greek salad thing. And I don't even like Jody. And I think morally, if we looked at it, what she did was completely wrong. Obviously, I think none of us condone eating other people's salads and shoving it in their face the way that she did. But for TV's sake, I'd much rather have someone that does something like this and creates some drama and invoke a certain kind of feeling out of me, like either joy, laughter, or anger, than have someone there that's a complete wallflower on the show. Personally, that's my take on it. And I think Ayanna this season, I've liked her and not liked her at times. But this, I'm just all in on the madness that is Ayanna at this point.
Well, and also though, I think the reason why, like, I'm happy that she had this moment at the selection, because like the part with Tech being like, Tech told me I can't say anything, so I'm not going to talk or whatever. And so like, she was quiet and she just wasn't going to like rub anybody the wrong way, hopefully there. But like the fact that she had that big blowout fight with Jasmine, this allowed me to forgive her for that, basically, because I was just like, Ayanna, be quiet, like stop calling out people's privilege because like they didn't clean up. Like I'm sure it happens. Like I don't know, just because they're adults doesn't mean that they're not going to be like drinking and not cleaning up after themselves. They'll probably wake up the next morning and clean up after themselves. Like you don't have to do it. So I can see why people would be annoyed with Ayanna, but with the whole Greek salad moment, like I think it allowed me to forgive her for that, and forgive for the couple weeks ago with Sophia. Like I forgave her for both of those because of that one.
And Tick sitting there saying, "Hey, I feel like throwing you down into the arena after that as well. Why don't you eat the girl's salad?"
Well, Ayanna is like the total package when you're looking at somebody to come onto the challenge. She makes drama, she has fun, entertainment scenes. And then when she has to go down to the elimination, she's not worried, she's not scared, and she'll take out whoever she needs to take out. And that's what you want out of a challenger. Maybe not so much in the daily challenges. She's not really showing up, but I mean, those.
I'm like a bird, though. That was another really great moment of Ayanna. So
Right. I'm saying that she has great moments and she can show up in eliminations, but when it comes down to actually performing in dailies, she'll have those great moments. It's just not winning any dailies that she's doing. But I mean, you can't have everything with every single challenger. So you got to pick and choose. And she's got more boxes ticked than a lot of the other competitors, or even multiple competitors combined in some cases.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking the truth here in the chat says, honestly, I've never even heard the words Greek salad so many times until this episode. Now I'll forever just laugh at the thought of Greek salad. And I think none of us will ever be able to look at Greek salad the same way after this episode. Adrian says, okay, is it just me, or did MJ Janae scene in the balcony kind of give me winner edit vibes? And I know we touched on this a little bit briefly in the beginning of the podcast. Listen, I'll ship it. I'll endorse an MJ Janae win, because an MJ Janae win or a Laterian and Melinda win for me at this stage would be more entertaining to see than Brad and Jody steamroll all the way to the end and win this thing, because I feel like that is a predictable win. And I don't want it to be as predictable as the next on the challenge episode producer bits where we already know who's going to win it. But you know, I think it's going to be a tough one. Their communication is good. Janae is a really good competitor. She did good last season. And by the way, I've gone back and started watching the earlier seasons of the challenge, like I said I would. And I'm on the Gauntlet 2 now, which is the first one that's available on Paramount Plus. And I think that's the first one, or one of the first ones that MJ is a part of as well. So I'm seeing him in his heyday compete on that challenge as well at the moment. So really enjoying going back and watching some of these older seasons. I don't know where to get any seasons before.
I have
1
to 21 that I can give you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll talk to you offline about that. That'll be good for me to be able to go all the way back and give some new school perspectives or thoughts on the old school challenge seasons. But yeah, so MJ seems to be pretty good. He seems to be athletic enough still to keep up with Janae, and Janae is doing really well there as well. Do we think, guys, realistically, this team has a really good shot at winning the finale?
Well, I think this is either a winner's edit or a losing edit, right? It could be one or the other, because what they talked about was whether or not making the decision for throwing in not an easier team, like trying to, like, not going after Jody and Brad. So they're wondering if this not going after them right now, if that was their losing decision. So I do feel as though we're going to see whether or not it was the right choice or the wrong choice. And that means it's either going to be a winner's edit or it was the wrong choice and they're not going to win the season. So I definitely think it was telegraphing something. I'm just not sure what direction they're actually going to go in here, personally. I think that they could win. I haven't been as impressed with MJ as I am with Janae. So I don't know how he's going to do really with like the super physical stuff. I know that we can count on Janae for the puzzles. I just don't know how great he is at running like up a mountain. I'm not sure. And I'm not sure if he's better than Brad and Nehemiah at running up a mountain.
Yeah, I think when it comes down to the finals, if we are projecting into the preview that Darrell and Janelle are assuming they leave because of something that has to do with Janelle's back, or they go into the elimination and lose. If the 4 teams that are going to be left running the finals, I think 3 of them have a fantastic shot. Not saying that Tech and Ayanna don't have a shot. I'm just saying that when compared to the other 3 teams that could possibly be in the finals, I would say that any of those 3 teams could win. Like, this is a really strong finals in considering the duos, where we have Nehemiah and Melinda, who have been really fighting uphill against another alliance. And I feel like they could be getting a winner's edit the way that they've been. I mean, Nehemiah's been all over this season. Melinda has been like the little engine that hasn't won a single elimination coming into the season. Now she has 2, and she's punched a ticket to the finals. Brad and Jody are a very strong team, a very strong duo. And the same with Janae and MJ, who maybe they're going to gain some momentum as we move into the finals, which it's not how you start the season, which I thought I was pretty disappointed with them up to this point, because I was like, they should be winning. They should be in the realm of possibly getting more wins, but Janae has been not getting a ton of screen time. The same with MJ, but now that they have this win underneath their belts, maybe this could be a nice change of momentum for them. But when it comes down to the finals, I think the 3 teams at the top have a really strong chance of anybody taking the win at this point.
Yeah, no, that's what I like about the fact that it's so close that, and like I really could see anybody pulling off the win. Other than, I agree with you, I don't think Tech and Ayanna really can compete with those other 3 people for this type of final. But yeah, I love the competitiveness of these final 3. So it's gonna be probably very exciting unless they screw it up with some sort of like how they handle the final. That might piss me off. But if it's like they're running in pairs and they just have to do their checkpoints, and if it's just basic, then I think that it'll be very exciting.
Yeah. Adrienne here points out to something that was mentioned here in the episode where MJ said that, he's really happy to be paired up with Janae because she's got a killer social game and he believes it's going to pay off. And this next episode, I think it kind of foreshadows a little bit probably to Janae and MJ escaping the arena, even if it's Darrell potentially having to go down there against Brad and Jody. I think that if she does escape here, Adrienne's got a great point in saying that she probably should be known as the social queen of the challenge, at least the challenge all-stars, because would that make her the only person that played in both these seasons that didn't see an elimination? If Darrell did have to go down there, I feel like it might make her the only person that would have gotten there twice to the end without having to go down, and that is a feat in itself.
Absolutely, that is pretty impressive. I didn't even really think of that stat. Yeah, she definitely, for All Stars, I think that she's been able to handle the season really well. Like we saw even in the first episode, her making inroads with Sophia. We see her with her room, kind of keeping that alliance together and explaining things to them. And, I feel like she has been doing a really good job managing her threat level as well. Cause like maybe it was strategic that they weren't coming in first for everything. So they wouldn't be thought of as a complete threat. Let Jody and Brad win all these things so that they're going to be like the red hot target that people are going to want to get out right before the final. And then they might let Janae and MJ just swoop right in. Janae did say, I think I can beat her. And if we just look at the track record of these dailies, like, why do you think that? So maybe she hasn't been giving her 110% just because she didn't want to come off as such a threat. So I would love that to be her edit, that she's like, holding back and just going to come in and just like slay the final. That'll be a very, very fun ending.
Yeah, I think to me, she is, I think, gotten better the longer she's been in these games, or being able to like really take a step back. And I think this is what really helped her like be able to visualize her game. I mean, last season she did fantastic getting to 3rd place on the whole season. And then she still came back. Like she didn't come back and be like, I'm just going to play the same game. It worked for me then. It'll work for me now. She was like, I have to change things up. And that's the real mind of a strategist, is like, I have to know my players, the competitors in this game. I have to know how to play them while also playing my own game, and have to be able to, like, when she was talking to Tina, like going back when she was talking to Tina, she was like, oh, you were a mercenary or a heavy hitter on Cutthroat, which means I feel like she went home, got her
studied
on her on Paramount Plus, and was just watching seasons and was like, if this person is going to be on there, I know how to like really like tickle their funny bone and like be able to get them on my side, or not let them think me as a big threat, even though they probably watched last season and was like, oh, this girl got 3rd place. But luckily last season, Janae played in the shadows as well. Like wasn't really shown on the season until Kendall was like going into the elimination against Hizella and Big Easy. So it was like everybody was just like, she was able to really go underneath the radar and then come into this season being full-fledged. Like, I'm going to just be out in the open because people are going to like notice me if I try to hide. So I'm just going to be out there talking to everybody, really just throwing my strategy out there. And I think doing last season also helped her this season, because Darrell already had this strong bond with her because of how well she did last season. He saw how well she did in the finals. So she knows that if she can get Darrell to like vouch for her and use his connections as well as Derek, I mean, she's not going to get touched. So she
Yeah.
does play a very good social and strategic game.
And it brings up a thing that I think all of us instinctively know when we watch the challenge. You've got these players that come back season after season playing the game, and a lot of them get better the longer they're there. So I've thought about this a few times. Like CT, what's the benefit for CT to come over to play the All-Stars season? Because when he plays the current season, he's revered. He's a bit of a legend. He's someone that people look up to. He's got this status and aura about him. But in an all-star season, people are going to gun for him. They're not going to care about any of that stuff. He doesn't have the 8 or 9 years in a row of playing, or 8 or 9 seasons in a row of playing with these people, having built strong alliances and things like that. It's a completely different game that is sort of being developed on the side here. And Janae, you could have been forgiven to think that maybe she wasn't that great when you watched her actual challenge seasons, because she struggled in those seasons, but she never really got a footing in those seasons. She was never there long enough to really build long-lasting connections that could make her a bit of a big hitter in the challenge world. And it really just shows you how important, Chantel, it is to play these back-to-back seasons and to build these alliances over a period of time. And like Drew said, Janae now in the Challenge All-Stars realm could become a bit of a queen, I think, in future seasons if they continue to do this, because she, I think, is going to be again in the next season. So it's 3 seasons in a row that she's coming back.
Well, in terms of her challenge main seasons, she never really had a good partner. We talked about this before. We saw a little bit of clip of her being with like Zach. She's been with Jasmine, Battle of the Seasons, Cancun, not great. Like, so she never really had that many opportunities to show how good she actually could be, because she was always linked to people that weren't as great as she was. And so we never really got to see her develop and blossom. And so I do think that her coming into the All-Star season and last year being like, oh, like I'm not even in the best physical shape of my life, and I was able to come in third. And you know, if the format was a little bit different, I would have won as one of the, you know, the first women to cross the finish line. She's like, maybe I can go in and do this, because she's now competing mostly for herself, or now she's with a pair, but this pair with MJ, they work really well together, and she's never really had that opportunity. So absolutely, I would say if they kept on calling me to go back to All-Stars to potentially make $500,000, like I'd probably say yes if I had to like give up 3 weeks of my life, compared to what the main season it asked of you of like 5 months or something insane. So I definitely, if I were Janae, I would keep on going back as long as they were calling me. It's whether she wins or she doesn't win, like go and defend that title then if that's the case.
Yeah.
And if you think about it as well, Drew, you know, like we spoke about the fact that she improved herself physically from one season to the other season strategically. She kept training, getting in better shape. Obviously, we know she just had her baby before playing the first time she got out there. You know, there's a lot of players now, I think, that must be looking at this and saying the All-Star season is not going anywhere. It's really popular. It's coming back time and time again. We might have pretty soon. I mean, we've got a third season of All-Stars. I think a fourth season is already, there's talks about a fourth All-Star season already. So it doesn't look like it's going to go anywhere soon. Who are the players from this season to date that you think would benefit the most from changing up their strategy coming back if they were to be asked to come back in future seasons? Who could be the other potential Janae out there? Someone that, not that she did bad the first time, she actually did pretty well, but who are the players? And it could be from this season or the first season, because I think we may have 1 or 2 people from the first season that's going to be dropping into the third season as well, coming back. Who are the players that you expect the most from coming back into those seasons that are part of this world that can continue to adapt their strategy? I mean, for me, I think one of the people that comes to mind is Janae. I think she's going to be in the next season as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. She's someone that I think socially could rival someone like Janae out there, but she has to continue to work on that physical stuff as well and get better at that aspect of the game. Not that she was a slouch in that in the first season. Is there anybody else that comes to mind that you think could be looking at this and learning from the blueprint that Janae's put out in the All-Stars?
I mean, the first one that pops into my head is Derek. I mean, he's going to have to change up something, because he changed it in a totally different way that really bit him in the butt. I mean, we talked about Janae. We can even look at Laterian, who was able to really get into an alliance, which he was like an outcast or a lone wolf last season, but he was able to make it farther because, or not as farther, but he made it far because he was able to adapt with the game. If he would have been just like floating around nowhere in no man's land, he would have been sent in way more than what he was. But Derek kind of like de-evolved this season, where he was in such a strong alliance last season. Coming into this season, I think he had a lot of friends, but he was trying to play the villain role, which is not for him. If anything, he is, I don't want to say like, he's like a henchman instead of like the actual villain. He's the person that will be that guy who will ride or die for you. He will take out the stronger competitors if he needs to, but what he needs to do is just perform and get to that point where he gets to the finals, and then he just needs to let loose and just go hog wild wherever. Because if he would have made it to this point and would have been able to lock in with Jody, they would have been a strong pair. And it's just it's crazy that Brad is just reaping all the benefits once like Derek left. It was almost like if Brad would have somehow was the brain behind getting Derek gone, that would have been the move of the century, to be like, Derek's gone. Now I'm Darrell's number one. And now I got Jody as my partner. Let's do this thing.
Well, he did take him out. So.
Oh, that is true. Just that he didn't say, I want Derek. That's the only thing. But yeah, he did take him out. I totally forgot about that.
Now, one person, Chantel, who has really also changed their game this season is probably the other part of, or the big part of the move for Derek to go down there. It's Nehemiah, who came back this season, and Google Gobble says that Nehemiah better let Janae in his alliance's room next time. Will Nehemiah become the alliance maker in the future All-Star season? Is he going to be the one that is going to be driving these counter alliances in the future? He's got a great blueprint now, because if he's not going to be let into the majority alliance, go and create one that can counter the big alliance. So I like this lane for Nehemiah. Chantel, do you think that he can continue to build on this and even potentially win this season with Melinda going into the finale? Because he's guaranteed to get there now.
So Nehemiah, I've always been hesitant of like picking him on my teams and stuff like that, just because he is kind of has that Letarian kind of vibe where he'll throw himself in. He doesn't want to play by the rules. He doesn't want people to tell him to dictate his actions and stuff like that. And so he's usually made himself like, I'm not scared of going down, and throw himself in, and then he'll go home or something like that. And so I was never really trusted him to play the game. And even when he said in the beginning of this season that he was like, I'm going to change the way that I'm going to approach the season. Like, you know, who I used to be before is not how I'm going to play this game now. I was like, oh, I'm worried for you, Nehemiah, because it might be the whole Derek effect of it all. Like, not really getting how his role on the seasons. Like, you know, I was worried for Nehemiah. But the fact that he's did something that I think is winning, I think that, you know, any of the naysayers at the beginning, they're like, didn't like how Nehemiah was getting a big head or anything like that. I think that they probably have eased that away for what they've created with the King's Palace. Like, it's actually like a thing now that I feel he will always want to gain those numbers again. He's always going to want to have a group of people that he's working with, that he's going to be ride or die for, because it's a winning strategy to have people that have your back and working together in a group. So he's never really had alliance that's together and it was ride or die for each other. And so now that he sees how effective this is and getting to the end and potentially could be winning the season, I think that he is going to try to rinse and repeat. Like, why wouldn't you? It worked. What he was doing before previous seasons did not work. It's working. So I think that he's going to try to build on that. Absolutely. And I'm happy for him.
The only thing that I would say that will be different next season is that Wes is going to be part of it. And Wes is always the mastermind. Him and Nehemiah are going to be like this. The good thing about Nehemiah being with Wes on this is that Nehemiah has the ins. I mean, he's played 2 All-Star seasons. So if he's going to be on the 3rd one, he's going to be like, look, you can trust this guy. I worked with him. We can't trust him. And then Wes will come in with his strategy. So they'll be able to bounce off of each other, where I think it'll be more of a balanced partnership than saying like Wes is just the guy that's always like is in charge and then Nehemiah is the henchman. I think it'll be more on a balanced scale once All Stars 3 comes in.
All Stars 3, the cast looks absolutely amazing. I'm a massive Wes fan. Like, dare I say it, admit it on this podcast. I love Wes. So seeing him play next season with some of the other big hitters coming in, I know we're not quite there yet, but I'm super excited to talk about that on the Nullified Take channel that is newly created. So I see here that Charles says that they really like the three of us together. Well, if you do like it, check the description out. It's got the Nullified Take YouTube channel in there. I have created a new channel that I will be doing the challenge podcasts with these two on there as well. So continue to follow us on there for next season for Challenge All Stars 3 and also for hopefully the challenge season 38. Is there any news on that so far? Are they looking at filming that? I mean, the biggest news we probably got was TJ being on some unknown location doing some work, I think, behind the scenes on the reunion show, maybe for the next season.
I don't know anything. Drew, your fingers on the pulse here. Usually.
So for the Challenge 38, if I can remember the shirt TJ was wearing, I think that was the shirt that he was wearing at All Stars 2 episode 1. So I think maybe he was on the lamb for All Stars 2. I've heard from, I don't want to say like a reliable source. I just heard through the grapevines that I heard that they weren't even going to start filming until possibly March, which means that we could be in a pretty long off season. I heard that we could get All Stars 3 before we could get
I'm fine with that.
Which I'm cool with that too. If we can just like bounce it in there, that'd be great. But yeah, that's what I heard. That again, I didn't hear it from like a source that I'm like, oh, this is like guaranteed gold from, but that's what I heard the last time I checked. But then there was another one that said that the season could be distributed, or like the main thing could be coming out in March, like all the cast photos and everything, and then maybe have a thing in April. But then what I heard later is from a different source was saying that it could be not until March that they film, which we'll see everything.
We'll probably talk more about this in some off-season content, which, you know, if you guys want to know what we're doing on either Drew, Chantel, or the Nullified Take channel, we probably will have some off-season content about what we would like to see for the next season of the challenge, season 38. But if they're taking this amount of time and they're looking for better people to cast, I'm okay with that. Like, slow it down. Don't just recycle the same cast over and over. There's a few people that have said they don't want to come back. Maybe even throw one or two standouts from the All-Star season in there on the regular season, if they're willing to go out there and do these long seasons. I don't know if you're going to be able to convince people to go out there for 12 weeks or something when they can make 500,000 in 3 weeks. It's a hard sell to commit to that much time on the show. But I do want to go into what our current draft picks look like. Very reluctantly, I want to go into it because it's not going very well for me at the moment. I lost in this episode Jasmine, and Chantel has lost Laterian, which means that I have got one person left, Darrell, in my team. Chantel has got 3 left in her team, and Drew, as always, is absolutely killing it here with keeping people in the team. And I think, Drew, you made a very smart executive decision in going to a point system, because having this many additional people in your team, surely at this point, it will start counting up. What are we looking at the moment when it comes to points in this game? Who's leading between yourself and Chantel?
I mean, it makes me think of like what could have been if we would have done point system for season 37. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I didn't get a winner, but what could have been? So last week's point systems were Chris was in 3rd place with 165 points. Chantel was in 2nd place with 191 points, and I was in 1st place with 222 points. After tallying up the point systems of who won the daily challenge, how many confessionals everybody was doing, I mean, I have to say that MJ and Tech really came out strong in this episode with how many confessionals that they had. But nothing changes in the standings at this moment. Chris, you went up by 12 points this episode, so you're at 177. So that's pretty good.
I'll take it.
Chantel, you went up by about 22 points. You got 213 points. Jody is still kicking butt in total points earned with 60 total points. The only thing is that she only got like 5 points this episode because she only had like 5 confessionals, despite having that Greek tragedy salad. And then it comes to me again, because I had Janae getting the 5 points. Oh, your leading scorer for the week was MJ with 11 points. He got you half of the points you earned this week. Because Janae won, and then Nehemiah and Melinda were able to punch their tickets. So I got a plus 10 for both of them because they have already made the finals. I went up a total of 70 points, and I'm now at 292 points in the lead.
How much you get for bumping to the final? Jesus.
It's 10. It's 10 each.
Well, okay, well that's done for you. And then like, oh my God, who's gonna be leaving? So it's probably gonna be Janelle. Oh, you're not even gonna lose people next week, so you're gonna have all those people go to the finals. So yeah, you're definitely winning no matter what. How much do we win for the winner? I'll have one winner.
15. 15 points plus 15 if you win. But
all right
now,
I feel like we need to up the stakes here for next season. We've got to I'll talk to some of the designers that I know in regards to creating a cap, because I did one for Survival Worldwide on Reality Pop. Maybe we'll do like a yellow cap with champion of the draft picks or something on it, and you get to wear it, for the next season being the champion. I don't know how we would do it with myself and Chantel sharing the spoils on this last season for season 37, but the love is probably going to be shared because we were both winners this last season. Drew's going to take the crown most likely this season, unless something really, really bad happens, like half of his team gets medically evacuated from the final or something. He's probably in a pretty good spot to win this. But I've been enjoying this. I don't know about you, Chantel. Even though we're getting our asses handed to us here, I've really been enjoying the point system. I think it's a more fun way to do some of these draft picks. And maybe next season, we'll think of a way we can make it a bit more visual for people so they can track it along with us as we do it each episode as well. But personally, big fan of this, Drew. I'm really happy that you brought this to the show, even though you're really, really beating us at your own game at this point.
We definitely do, like with Fanta and Michelle, we do have point systems. So I did lose the draft by about 15 points because I didn't have the winner, but I had the most points all season. But we give 50 points for the winner. So that's actually what allowed for the upset to happen. But yeah, I definitely love having the points, but it's always just like having to follow along and count confessionals. Like that's the tedious part. So if Drew wants to do that, I'm totally fine with losing.
I mean, I'm totally cool with it.
Last time I'm losing against you, Drew. The last time.
I will say that if I was losing, I would be like, okay, I'm done counting confessionals. But does make it a little bit. I will say that I've had a ton of luck in 37 and this season. I mean, I feel like I should have lost Tech and Ayanna last episode, or at least somebody from the King's Palace when it was Ayanna and Tech going up against Nehemiah and Melinda. So I count my lucky blessings that I didn't lose a team that I have 2 people on each team. Like I would have just lost and only had 4 players left if it would have went down like that, or 5 players left. So I count my lucky blessings.
Well, didn't you benefit from pretty much all the weird, eliminations that didn't happen? Like, I feel like you would have lost somebody many times. Am I wrong?
I would have lost Big T in 37, which she got to stay like an extra 2 weeks. And then Ayanna and Tech. And then you were able to keep Laterian, which he could have been medically DQ'd once Kendall left, but he was able to stay by. And you lost Tyler, but got to keep Laterian in that moment. So not all I haven't benefited from all of them, but I've benefited from a lot from being very lucky.
You make your own luck in these shows, so if it's going your way, it's going your way. Definitely lean into it. I do see here in the live stream, Google Gobble says, missed last week's episode, but just had to say Amanda was super annoying in the reunion. And I did say that we would talk about the reunion a bit on this recap show, but prior to going live, I sort of chatted with both Chantel and Drew, and I said, watching the reunion, I didn't realize how burned out I was from season 37 until I watched the reunion. And I was like, I can't care about half of the drama that these guys are getting onto in the reunion. I kind of felt like CT, sitting there on the screen, not being that engaged, watching it. And for me, it's a little bit difficult to pick sides in it. But the one thing I will say is that Fessy just continues to bury himself when it comes to these shows. Like, I mean, if you think that the guy couldn't look any worse, like, just go watch the reunion, and it just makes him look even worse than what we already, my opinion of him was pretty low to begin with, but it just continues to drop, where even his friends are calling him out on that reunion. And if you guys have got any questions about the reunion, since we all have watched it, feel free to pop a few questions in here now, or any questions that you may have about the challenge as a whole as we start closing off this episode here as well. Chantel and Drew, what was your overall takes on the reunion? Were you liking it? Did you feel as low on it as me? What did you feel? I do have to say, if I have to give one positive, the host, she's getting better every single season she's on there. I actually really enjoyed her this season.
Yeah, I like the fact that she was. Who would she call out? Did she call out Fessy? Was it? She
really gave it to him.
Like, you didn't answer the question, or like she said something that I was like, yes, lead to that more, Maria Menounos. Like, I definitely like that she didn't let him off the hook, or a lot of people off the hook. I wasn't really entertained by it. I'm happy that it wasn't a two-parter. All the people that I'm already annoyed by, they were equally annoying this episode as well. So I was like, okay. I didn't care to see the alien, everybody with their alien ears on, with their little masks that they hold in front of their face, like with Emmy singing. Like, honestly, congratulations. It's awesome that you have a single out. Like, I'm very happy that MTV wants to support it. I get it. But, like, I don't care. Like, you know what I mean? The song's not that great. I like Safety Palace way more than Alien. So, yeah, there's just nothing really happened that was really that interesting. Nothing was really resolved in a way that I cared about. I wanted to hear more about the Michelle, like, why Amanda was so angry with Michelle when, like, it seemed pretty obvious that Michelle wasn't trying to be, like, manipulative, and, like, that Fessy is actually the common denominator here. And, like, so anyways, it just, I wasn't really here for it. I didn't really care.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of reunion shows anyways, especially the challenge. I don't know. It just seems like it takes so long for them to get together and talk about the reunion that, to me, it's like we're treading over old stuff that has happened. We've seen Twitter beefs that are way more exciting that they're not even going to get to because this was filmed so far behind. The only reunion shows I like are Real Housewives because they really get on each other. But this reunion could have been fun if they would talk about the stuff that we really cared about, and instead of talking about who ate the pizza for like 10 minutes, I was like, who cares at this point? Like, nobody cares at this point who ate the pizza. My thing is, like, why didn't we get to talk more about stuff that we really wanted to see? Why wasn't Priscilla there to talk about her strategy on trying to break up the Vets Alliance? Why wasn't, half the rookies didn't even talk. Why didn't we talk about why Ashley was taken out or DQ'd? I mean, we basically was talking about all the kid glove stuff about, like, why is Fessy a bad boyfriend? Why is Emmanuel trying to stick up for Tori? Why did Tori even talk to Emmanuel at the elimination? It's like, who cares? Like, none of this really matters. Like, I don't know. It's just really boring. It was always boring. And then, cap it off. Like, let's just cap it off with Emmy singing Alien. Like, that's just like boils it down to what the whole season was. And I was like, wow, just that lasting moments of, like, her in her alien pajamas being carried off. I was like, whatever. Like,
do you know what? Actually, I'm lying, though. There was one part of the reunion that I enjoyed, and that was the beginning when they were all coming on and they're kind of like walking. It had it in slow motion kind of thing. I can't remember the music that was playing right now, but I did like the entrance. So that was okay.
Yeah, and I like the TJ part when TJ came on. Like, that brought a smile to my face. I was like that close to, similar to Speaking the Truth, of just tuning out of the second half of the reunion, and then he came on and he kept me sort of interested for a little bit longer. But like you said, it was a bunch of just fights that I don't care enough about. And then, the whole, even the Tacha Esther drama between them was confusing as hell. Amber and Casey going back and forth, and just a bunch of things. The one thing I did find interesting was probably Casey saying that Amber was shouting out of the quarantine hotel room Big Brother, and that's why she couldn't trust her. So you know what? If that is true, then hats off to Casey. I wouldn't have trusted Amber on that season as well if that is what she was doing. And how bad of a gameplay move is that from Amber to do that prior to going into the actual show?
She wouldn't have trusted her anyways.
Friends with people. That's annoying.
Wouldn't have trusted her anyways. Like, come on now. Like, that's just finding excuses out of a bag. I mean, Amber just probably watched Double Agents, saw how much crap they were talking about her in the confessionals, and was like, all right, screw this. I'm going to, like, yell it out. And then she came onto the season, and they probably were like, yeah, you can trust us. We can trust us. Yeah. We won't throw you in. And then, like, the first chance they can, they throw her in. So it's like, whatever. If she
bad on her,
she didn't,
bad on her
her
for...
in.
Listen, I'm a big Amber fan. You know I like Amber. But... bad on Amber for trusting them after all of that, and bad gameplay shouting that out before going into the show. Like, she's got to at some point own that was horrible gameplay before she even went on the show. And as a defending champion, I mean, the target can't get any bigger than that coming back into the show and being late as a vet coming into the season. But those are probably the most interesting parts that I can think of within the reunion. I don't think anything else was too interesting. Sam did ask why Ashley wasn't a part of the reunion show. I'm assuming Josh probably didn't want her there. Something like that was probably in there. We all know that there was some drama between them. And apparently, according to Sam, I don't know if this is true or not, Ed and Priscilla was asked, but they were asked too late to be there. I did find it quite interesting that they actually did have people from international locations come in and do the reunion. The one thing, like, even if we like or don't like the challenge reunions, the one thing we have to take a hat off to them for is the fact that they actually are doing reunions when Survivor has sort of like chicken out of it or have been too cautious in regards to creating reunion shows. I mean, they could have everybody from the US at a reunion live show, but they have chosen not to do that, where the challenge is saying, we'll do that. We'll bring people in from internationally to come in and do the reunion with us. You know, we'll use technology if we need to get people on a screen, on a Zoom call. And also, they were the first show to come back and actually give us some great reality TV, even when COVID was there. So hats off to the production team. You know, they are doing some things right. I know we criticized them on their casting choices at times, but it seems to be that they can still make things happen.
I think that they filmed the reunion, if I'm not mistaken, in Amsterdam. And so maybe that is the reason why they were able to have these international people to be able to come together. And that makes also sense why, if she was asked too late, Priscilla not being able to go, like, depending on what, traveling from the UK to, or from London to Amsterdam, maybe there was some, you know, stipulations there, whatever. So that could be one of the reasons why they were able to have it happen, because, like, maybe it was a little bit of lax rules compared to maybe what the States would be requiring people to, maybe having to quarantine for 2 weeks or whatever. There must have been some quarantining rules that prevented CBS from wanting to do that with Survivor, but MTV was like, okay, let's go over to Europe, and like it'll probably be a lot easier for everybody to reconvene over there. They have less like quarantine rules. That's my guess. I obviously don't know 100%. But if that's the case, CBS, just like do your finale somewhere else. Like, I definitely didn't like the ending of the season. I like seeing when they have watched it back and get all dressed up. So hopefully next for 42, they try it. But I don't think they will.
The one thing I do want to say that I found, I don't know. I feel like I found the reunion pretty moot because we have the aftermath after every single episode, and the players can just talk about it right afterwards and kind of, if we had every single player from that episode that was a main player in that episode, I think it would have played a lot better on the aftermath. And I would much rather have, like, because the one part I did really like about the reunion was when they were talking about hookups that we possibly haven't seen. And it's like, I would love them to bring like a deleted scene show, maybe have the players talk about what was in the scenes or what they felt about it, kind of like what they used to do. The only thing is, like, MTV, I think, is so scared to show anything that they cut and left on the cutting room floor that I feel like they wouldn't show anything juicy like they used to. But that's what I would rather see. I would rather see deleted scenes than go over rehash drama or the finals that we just watched from the previous episode, because we have the aftermath. And it is such a good show. Like, it's a nice 20-minute package, 18-minute package that players can just like they're so focused because it was just one episode. They're not trying to think back to like, oh, who ate the pizza? What happened like 6 months ago when we were trying to like think of this one day? And Corey's like, I don't know. The house is boring. I don't know what to say. Like I'm filming Teen Mom right now. I want to be out of this hotel room. Get me out of here.
Dub is saying CT not caring about the big T drama was my mood. Not bothered. And speaking the truth, is saying CT shutting down Fessie's cloud chasing antics was great as well, because obviously Fessie wants to box CT, but there's nothing to gain for CT from doing that at all. Like he's got nothing to prove against this guy. And yeah, it was what it was. You know, I don't think it was a very exciting, personally, a very exciting reunion, or there was much to be gained from watching it. But that is it for, I think, the challenge season 37. Looking forward to 38. And like I said, we'll probably be doing some off-season content, especially if there's such a long off-season before we get the other challenge seasons coming up. And the three of us will get together and talk about some of the things we'd like to see and brainstorm. If we were producers, what would we do on the show? I think that could be fun. Chantel, Drew, is there anything that we didn't touch on for this All-Stars 2 recap? I feel like we've pretty much gone over all of the main talking points, but is there anything that you guys wanted to talk about? And if there's anybody in the chat that has some last-minute questions for us, get it in now or forever hold your peace.
Maybe just one little thing. So with the whole Janae and MJ just like throwing in how it all went down. Like the fact that Nehemiah and Melinda get to punch their ticket to the final. I think that they could have made a mistake with not having the other person be the one that like goes down there, because like if they have a second, they would have a second chance of going, getting Nehemiah and Melinda out. And like most likely then it would be Ayanna and Tech that would be going straight to the final. And so if they might have thought of that differently, if they had like maybe the foresight of like, oh, maybe that's going to be punching their ticket to the final. Who do we want to go into the final that's most likely going to beat Jasmine and Jasmine and Latarian? And so maybe that could have been a strategy they thought about, since they just got an immediate punch ticket to the final. That could be a game-losing move, absolutely. So I definitely was thinking that in the moments, like, ooh, the fact that they're going to be in the final, you don't want to run against them in the final. Like maybe you should have thought a little bit differently about who you're going to put it in against Jasmine.
That's a good point. And obviously we've spoken about that a few times here on the show, where sometimes when they do the surprise factor just to get the ooh or ah moments out of it, it does take away from the strategy or seeing great strategic play where people think about how they can play within the game and get the rules of the show to work for them. So a missed opportunity there. I do see that Sam says, I want Fessie to fight Conor McGregor, which obviously will never happen because Conor would destroy him. But I did like seeing the Conor McGregor walk from both Melinda and Nehemiah, where they were basically doing the walk that Conor McGregor does every time he gets into the octagon.
Hilarious.
It was a really funny moment, and I love seeing Melinda completely sort of lean into it and have fun with it as well. Like I expect that from Nehemiah, but her getting it as well, it was really, really fun. And even her calling him out at the end, saying he's so cocky, which is fun to watch.
I love that TJ loved that moment too. Like, their walk is better than yours. I love that.
I don't think anything would have changed though if they would have said this is the second to last, or I think only anything would have changed if they would have said this is the final elimination. I think that's when Janae and MJ would have taken a shot and really tried to take out a stronger team and maybe thrown somebody in against Latarian and Jasmine, just kind of like hoping that maybe there's a luck-based elimination. But I don't think anything would have really changed if he would have said, okay, this is the second to last elimination. I really wanted MJ and Janae just to make a move. I mean, so I have to say this real quick before we leave. You guys got me hooked on this stinking Survivor Australia. I'm in episode 8.
It is good, eh?
There's so many big moves happening that when MJ and Janae were like, maybe we should make a big move, I'm like, oh man, do it. I've watched like six tribal councils where I had no idea what was going to happen. Let's do it. And then when he was like, not just kidding. And then he put up I was like, dang it. But it's going to work better for them in the end.
I'm so
really
happy
excited
that you
about
started
that.
watching it. Yes.
It is a
So
good
when
show. It is a really good show.
that they blew through the entire thing since we talked about it on Monday, and they said like, "Thank you so much." Like it actually was the hype, and so I'm happy that you're in on the hype, Drew.
100%. I mean, listen, obviously, as the former Survivor Worldwide guy here on Reality Pop, I will continue to be recapping all of the international Survivor seasons on the new channel as well. And we've got a new Australian Survivor season coming out, Blood versus Water. And we've got Sandra Diaz-Twine and her daughter being on there from the US, which should be a lot of fun to watch. So now that you're in it, Drew, obviously I'll at some point get Chantel on as well to come and talk about us, talk about Australian Survivor. I'll definitely get you on a recap at some point as well. So you got to finish this season because I'm expecting big things for the next season as well. And we just had Kelly Wentworth, who's a massive fan of Australian Survivor, tweet out as well that she's been sleeping on it for way too long. I think it was on TikTok actually. She said, "I've been sleeping on it for way too long. You guys should be watching Australian Survivor." So really, really happy for the surge of new fans that are coming in watching the Australian Survivor season. It is really good. It is on Paramount Plus as well. So if you've never watched it, if you've never watched any Survivor, still go and watch this. I think you will enjoy the Australian Survivor seasons. There's some massively big characters in it. And one of the big characters on Australian Survivor is a guy by the name Dirty Harry. I know you haven't seen his season yet, Drew. You'll watch it. I talk to Dirty Harry every now and again. He couldn't make it on a recap for this season for the challenge, but he does watch the challenge. He's a massive fan. I think if he could get the chance to play, he'd probably even play it if they asked him because he is a fan of it. And we would definitely get Harry at some point on a show with us to talk about the challenge as well. I'd love to hear his thoughts because he is also a very strategic player as well. So definitely go and check that out, guys. It's a lot of fun. I'm so happy, Drew, that you have joined the international Survivor fandom.
It's so much. They're so long. They're so long episodes, but I want more of it. Like that's the thing.
Like it took me like 4 days. I just went all the way through them. I just watched. That's the only thing that I watch, and I'd stay up until like 5 a.m, and I'm like, oh, one more episode. Oh, but they're so long. Oh, and so yeah, I just did 8 hours a day basically and watched it.
All right. Speaking the truth here, coming in with a last question for us before we start wrapping things up. Also, would you rather see an All-Stars Exes or an All-Stars Rivals more? Which one of the two would you rather see? Exes from Chantel and yourself, Drew?
I don't know if there's a ton of rivalries right now. I mean, I think there are some that are like sprouting, but I feel like if we could have some exes from the past having to work together, I think that would be pretty interesting to see.
I just realized watching Gauntlet that, and I never knew this, obviously, this is why I should watch all of these older seasons, that Jodie and Mark Long used to date, or there was something going on, and that was a big part of the storyline because of Robin and Mark Long being on the same season, and then her getting her heart broken by him. So maybe a Mark Long Jodie team. I'm sure Mark Long would be more than happy to team up with her since she's a bit of a beast and he's a beast himself as well. I think that could be very entertaining to watch as well. So I don't know all the exes. So it would have to be, I'd have to go back and watch it. So I don't feel like I'm qualified to talk about this. But in general, if you ask me, would I rather see an exes season or a rival season? I actually enjoy probably the rival seasons more because I just love seeing people who absolutely hate each other having to find a way to work together to get things done. So I would love to see a rival season at some point in the near future. But with the new show, you just wouldn't know if it's actual rivals or if it's just manufactured, because I do feel like some of it's a lot of manufactured drama these days.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and start looking at like who didn't get along and what were the rivals. But like I think it would be a decent season. But like I would prefer to see the fighting between people that used to date. I just think it would just be a little bit more interesting. The stakes would be a little bit higher than just like a screaming match. So yeah, I just think it might just be a little bit more dynamic if it's exes. But I'll see either of them. I'm sure it'll be fun with the old school cast.
Yeah. Well, guys, it is, I believe, 9:23 p.m. over in New York. You guys are getting closer and closer to the new year. So I just want to say thank you to everybody that has been listening and following us this season for both season 37 and also for the All-Stars season as well. We've had a lot of fun, especially having this great live audience here each week talking to us. I hope you guys all enjoy your New Year's Eve. You have a great 2022. I wish you all but the best for 2022. I'm excited for everything that's going to be happening over the next year as well, and talking to Drew and Chantel about more of the challenge madness as we go into 2022, because I'm sure there will be many a Greek salad moments to talk about over the next year as well, and we'll all be here to break it down. I'm going to go over to you, Chantel, first, with the Reality Realness channel with 3 S's. What's happening on your channel over the next week?
So on Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to go live to talk about the Amazing Race, season 33. So we do know that the cast has been dropped. We know that it was a season that started and then it had to like a 1.5 year hiatus. They're saying it's the longest pit stop. And then some teams didn't come back. Some teams that were together weren't together anymore. So we're going to do a little deep dive into what the season might look like. We'll do a little bit of a draft. We'll probably have a little game for each other. So myself and my friend Phil will be breaking down those teams and doing our draft picks on Sunday. So other than that, that's all I have on the docket right now. Next week, I might get together with Fanta and Michelle and do a catch up on these last couple of episodes of All Stars. Now that things might have been settled a little bit, getting into the new year, we'll do a little bit of catch up there. And then back with you guys on Friday.
Drew, what's happening on the Angel Cake channel? I know you said you had a little bit of a slow week, so I don't know if that means that, you're allowed to have a slow week, by the way. It's the end of the year. You should take it easy when it comes to this time of the year. What's happening on the Angel Cake channel over the next week?
Can never have a slow week. No, this was supposed to be my week that I was going to relax and then maybe get ahead. And I wasn't able to get ahead because I was just like too busy putting up lights and switching out bookcases and dusting all my Funko Pops, which were like 100 plus. I have 100 plus Funko Pops and I had to dust every single one of them. At least they were in their cases. Like, I'll just say that. But this is where I'm going to start hitting the grind hard for content, because Sunday I'm getting back onto doing Endurance Season 2. So that's going to be fun to watch and see how everybody's going to be commenting everything. Mondays or Tuesdays, I'm going to be doing reality TV commentary videos. I went back and rewatched Joe Millionaire from 2003. So I have a big commentary video about that because of the new spinoff show that looks like absolute bottom of the barrel reality TV trash. Thanks, Fox. And then we have,
Fox used to be the channel that gave it, though. We got like Temptation Island in the beginning. Like, I was like, if it's on Fox, I'm watching it. So
I call it trash, but I'm going to be watching it too. So I'm just going to be watching it, but I watched all of Joe Millionaire. But then Wednesdays is Amazing Race. So I'm going to be doing reviews and recaps for that on Thursdays, as well as finishing out the Challenge All-Stars. And then Fridays will be the Challenge video days. I'll have a video for the Challenge, whether it's a commentary, whether it's an actual like fun video or anything like that. And then I'm also planning on doing Teen Mom when that comes on, that new one with everybody in the Teen Moms. I'm going to be doing that on Tuesdays/Wednesday mornings. And then I'm going to be doing lives. So I'm going to have a few guests, as well as hopefully these two lovely people to be with me and do a whole bunch of lives. At least once a month, maybe. I would really like that. I would like to do 2 lives a month. So it would be great to have you guys on as much as I can have you guys on, because I love our dynamic and I love chatting with you. And I don't want to go into a long off season with no chatting, because I don't know what
we're going to be. We're going to be chatting. I mean, going into this next week on the Nullified Take, which is the channel that I've created, I'm going to be talking about The Amazing Race as well. That's going to drop. And if you want to see a bit of an international perspective on a US show, come on and watch that specific recap episodes each week. I've got a special guest, one that I'm very excited, or not a guest, the co-host for the whole season. Lock this person in for the whole season. And I'm very excited for you guys to know who this person is for the season. It is an international person, so it's no US reality star, but it is someone that I'm very excited to be doing these recaps with for the season. So go and check that out on the Nullified Take channel, which I will drop in here as well. And myself and Drew, we potentially, I think, Drew, you're quite keen on this. We'll do a season recap of Cobra Kai, the latest season should be dropping, I think, tonight. We're both massive Cobra Kai fans, and one of the things I want to do differently on my channel is I do want to do a little bit of TV and movie recaps as well. And a lot of this will be driven by you as a community as well. If you join there, if there's certain TV shows that is not reality that you'd like for us to dive into or talk about, or movies and things like that, let us know. And I would be more than happy to get into that as well on that channel. So really excited about this going into 2022. I'm even getting a room set up. So one of my flatmates that I've got in the house here is moving away. I'm not going to get another boarder coming in. I'm going to take that room, going to turn it into a proper streaming and podcasting room so that I can, up my game to look somewhere close to what Drew's got in the background there, and Chantel, what you've got. I love your background as well, being out there on the holidays. I've kind of been in the living room for a while now, or in my bedroom, so it's going to be good to have a space dedicated to doing this, since I enjoy doing it so much. That's pretty much it here, guys, for this week's episode for the Challenge Insiders. We somehow got to an hour and a half again. I never know how we managed to do it. We're all talkers, but we'll be back next week here on Reality Pop. I've got 2 more recaps, and these guys have got 2 more recaps here on the Challenge Insiders podcast. So see you next week, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Looking forward to it, and thanks for being here on the live, guys. Have a good evening.